Yo, what is up guys, and welcome back to another video on the Now today I actually have a very special video for you guys, and that is to do with how to prepare for your med school interviews. Now I'm sure some of you guys would have had your interviews already. I think universities start testing people, well not testing but interviewing people around December time. Now when I was preparing for this video and gathering all sorts of information from my own past experiences and from that of my friends, if I'm being honest, there was literally an endless list of stuff that I wanted to cover in this video, but I've tried to condense and break it down into 5 main points that I think will help you guys out the most. So I'm going to put it on the screen now so you guys can like skip around if one of these topics stands out to you the most. And without further ado, let's get into the video. In at number 1, I think it's actually probably one of the most important things, and that is to mimic the person you're talking to. What some of you guys might not realize, and I certainly didn't realize, is that in your interviews you're going to be speaking to people of like different age groups and like different ranges of experience. During my MMIs, I had people that were, for example, consultants, surgeons, people from the admin staff, and even people that were in like the 3rd year of medical school. Now it probably goes without saying that you don't want to be talking to a consultant the same way you want to be speaking to a 3rd year medical student. Something that's really important and I think could be very useful is to try and mimic the behavior and the mannerisms of the person that you're talking to. So if for example you're like me and you're quite, bubbly, and you walk into an MMI station with a consultant that's probably old enough to be your parent, then you might want to tone it down a bit. A little spoiler for those of you that want to get into med school, one of the things that they teach you in communication skills is that you should always try and like reflect the vibe given off by the patient that you're talking to. The main reason being, if you're able to mimic the behavior of the person you're talking to, they're probably gonna like feel a bit more comfortable and like open up to you. So if you're able to convey that sense of non-verbal communication skills to the interviewer, they're probably gonna give you a few extra points, because that's something that isn't necessarily the easiest thing to teach. I really can't stress the importance of this tip though. It's something that kind of goes under the radar and you probably don't think is as important as, for example, covering NHS hot topics, because a lot of the time it's those kind of soft skills and subconscious things that the interviewers pick up. Now on to number 2, and this is something that is again very important, and that is to try and hide your nerves as much as possible. Now naturally, if you care about your interviews, which you probably should, otherwise you're wasting someone else's spot, you're gonna feel very nervous and very anxious going into the room with like 15 other year 13s and then all of these doctors quizzing you and asking you like really horrible questions. But it's really important to try and compose yourself, because one of the biggest red flags to someone that's not even just for medicine interviews but any interview in general is if the person that you're talking to is like really nervous. Something that can always really help with this is you got to try and remember that at the end of the day, the person that's interviewing you is looking at someone that's potentially going to be, receiving bleeps in the future or having to attend to like crash calls and stuff. And the last person you want attending a crash call is someone that's literally sweating in their interview, absolutely bricking it like I was in my Liverpool interview. It just highlights the fact that you're not comfortable being out of your comfort zone, and a lot of medicine is outside of your comfort zone. And so if you're constantly nervous and just a complete mess whenever put under pressure, that's not the kind of person you want to trust with someone's life. Of course nerves are normal and they will account for this, but just try and minimize the amount it affects your performance. So for example, it might be a good day to wear a vest under your shirt, because even if it's like in the summer, not summer but like spring, because if they can see that you're sweating, like it just doesn't look good. And some of these interviewers, like they like to have fun with their job, so if they see you sweating and nervous and like a complete mess, they'll scrap the question that they were planning to give you and will just start like pressing you. In terms of ways to deal with like nerves and anxiety, honestly, the best and probably the only real effective way to handle this is to do as much preparation as you can, preferably with people that you're like uncomfortable with. Another really good way to deal with like some nerves and anxiety is to remember that there's going to be some people in your interviews who literally have just put on a suit and then rocked up on the day, like no prep, whether it be confidence in their own abilities or they just couldn't be asked, because some people at the end of the day, they go to interviews that they're not really going to pick that uni. So sometimes just try and remember that, and remember that you're probably in a much better position than a lot of the other people in the room, and just back yourself, be confident, and yeah, that should hopefully get rid of a large bulk of the nerves that you will experience on the day. Speaking of confidence, this actually links very nicely onto my 3rd point, which is to put 100% of your focus into these interviews. Now the reason I'm saying this is, for example, there was a guy next to me before my St. George's interview, and like I don't want to out this guy because he probably did very well, he's probably doing medicine now, but like he had literally like 3 mocks like tomorrow, like the next day after his St. George's interview. I'm aware that a lot of you guys probably are going to be in a similar position, and I just want to emphasize that literally nothing else matters apart from your interview, at least for like the month or the couple weeks before your interview. Mock exams, if you've got your interview, your mock exams don't matter. They really don't. You'll probably have like a month and a half before your A-level exams, so just really like going hard. As I'm sure a lot of med school people will agree with me, it's a lot easier to revise for your A-levels and IB exams when you got that offer in the bag. Not to scare anyone, but some interviews are like very straightforward, very chill, laid back, but some interviews are very, very hard. Like literally some of the interviews that you may have, unfortunately, like they're the type of interviews where no matter how much preparation you had before, like you're just not going to be as prepared as you would have liked. And so I always feel as though you can always put 100% into your interviews and just keep pushing for it, regardless of how much schoolwork you have. You know, your teachers might not like me saying this, but school can take a back seat, at least for that the couple of weeks leading up to your interview. And now for number 4, and this is pretty ironic considering how much I've waffled in this video, but number 4 is to try your best to be concise and not waffle. The main reason for this is because, as I'm sure you're all aware, you probably have 5 minutes for your MMI stations, and after, you know, you've walked in, you've shaken a person's hand, if they want to shake your hand, you know, never offer your hand, always make sure like they're comfortable with it. But after all like the introduction and stuff, and they've read out what they need to read out to you, you probably only end up having about, you know, 2.5 minutes to prepare your answer and actually deliver it. And so you want to be as concise and clear as possible, like avoid waffle at all costs. The last thing you want is to be in the middle of a really good point and you just hear the bell like ringing telling you to move to the next station, because like it'll be peak. Now my last but definitely not least point is to never put on a front and just try and be as authentic as possible. I know it can be very tempting if, for example, you're from Southeast London and you have an interview at like a very prestigious university, to try and put on a front and act like something you're not. So the person that's interviewing you is probably going to have extensive training in like psychology and be able to tell straight away whether or not you're putting on the front. And obviously as soon as they're able to tell that you're just chatting rubbish and acting like something you're not, they're gonna switch off and they're probably not gonna trust a word of what you're saying. Healthcare professionals, you know, have training in communication skills and dealing with patients that perhaps are a bit, you know, nervous and scared to open up for obvious reasons. And so if they can sniff a facade, yeah, they'll break it down pretty quickly. So always be authentic and true to yourself. As I kind of mentioned earlier on in the earlier on in the video, some interviewers, you know, they like to have a bit of fun with their job. So if they can smell BS, yeah, they're gonna exploit it and they're gonna like they're gonna make you real uncomfortable. So just try and be as authentic and honest as possible. I'm sure acting with honesty and integrity is somewhere in like the GMC guidelines, so you know it won't be a good look if you act like you're just putting on a facade. If you are watching this and you're a bit nervous about like sticking out because, I don't know, you're not the archetypal type of, you know, med school applicant, then, you know, just remember they've picked you for a reason. You know, they've obviously been impressed by something in your application form. So, you know, just go out there, be yourself, and show them what you can do, show them why they were right to pick you and not like the person above you in the list. So yeah. And on that note, that is the end of the video. I hope you guys did enjoy. Apologies if there was a bit of waffle in this video. Like, I haven't filmed a sit down for over a week, and so I was a bit of a mess filming this video. But I hope you found the tips like really useful. As I said before, I'm going to be making like a part 2 if you like video later on. Nonetheless, if you found the tips really useful, you know, drop a like on the video, share it with your friends. If you are new around here and you like what you see, consider subscribing to the channel, guys. We make videos on school. So hit that subscribe button, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Professional. Oh, I can't say that word.
Cash money, I got it. That swag, honey, I got it. My pop tags, I got it. You talk about it, I got it. Boy, we stunt. All we do is stunt. All we do is stunt. Yeah, we stunt. All we do is stunt.